Okay, it's been a few minutes, probably like half an hour actually. Anyways, yeah, I need to get a tripod set up. But so yeah, unplugged a few things, get the positive battery cable out of the way. Got the air pipe and the air filter box out of here, so I could get back in here. You can see it right there. Is that bolt with no nut on it? That was one. That's one bolt for the carburetor. The other one, let's see here, down in there. And then the one right here, you think, oh, well, that's, it's right up front. Well, can't hardly get a wrench on it because there's not really any room. And then the last one, I don't know if I can get it on the camera. It's right there. You can see that threaded stud. So that one, got all those off. I think the carburetor's ready to come off of here. I did just notice there's a big old vacuum port right here that I do not recall pulling a hose off of. So I'm guessing that's maybe that's a vacuum port for if this thing had power brakes. I'm trying to look at it here. Come on, focus. Yeah, that hasn't had anything on it for a while. I wonder if that cap was missing. Is it supposed to be capped off? Because this car, it doesn't have power brakes. It's got manual. There's no, you can see where the big round circle is behind the brake master cylinder. That's where a brake booster would go if it had power brakes. Which a booster, it's this is a brake booster, but for a truck. But it'd have one of those in there, a lot smaller, of course, because this is a little car. But I actually was going to add that because usually you can buy them, but they are all out of stock online. So unless I could find one of these cars in the junkyard, which is going to be pretty much never, or I find somebody who's got Omnis that they've hoarded, or these little 80s cars that use that style mounting, probably won't have it. But I mean, this car's so light, it doesn't need power brakes anyways. So I got this thing loose, or the nuts off. Let's see if I can get it off. It is definitely stuck on there. I don't know what, I keep smelling something over here. It smells like rotten vegetables. It's kind of weird. I don't know what's up with that. So we'll give it a little upward tap here on the, there we go. Now it's loose. And it's heavy. And it's not going to come off. Oh my gosh, this is a heavy little carburetor. Holy cow, that thing weighs as much as a 4-barrel. It's probably full of junk. It's been sitting for a long time. I did put gas in this thing. I was pumping gas in with an electric pump. Well, nothing's coming out of it. So it all either leaked into the engine, because this thing's probably super not happy on the inside, or I did burn it up. I don't know. I just know when I was pumping it, it was dumping gas out of this side of the accelerator pump, which is not supposed to do that. Good thing is this is in really good shape. It's not rusty or corroded up or nothing. It's still got the gold, or whatever they call it, the coloring on the body of the carburetor. So I should be able to clean this thing up, no problem, and get it back on the car functioning like it should be. But I, gotta wait for parts to get here. Probably won't see the parts until after Christmas, which Christmas is coming up next week. So maybe next weekend, because today's Friday. So maybe by next weekend I'll maybe I'll be working on that. I don't know, but anyways, probably get the vacuum in here again and vacuum all that stuff that I couldn't get before with all that stuff in the way. But I couldn't get the car to idle, and it might be because of that port on the back side there, this one right here. That might have been why I couldn't get it to really run at all. I mean, it was like, it didn't want to run. It was like it would rev up fine, but it would not idle like at all. So as soon as I stopped, I was just sitting there doing this with my foot in the car to keep it running, and I had video of that, but I deleted it on accident, so that was good. But that might be why it wouldn't idle for me. So I'm gonna keep picking away at this thing. I can get the brake master cylinder off, get that ready for the new one. Might try to pry. Nah, I'll do that on the bench vise. Might try to pry the reservoir off of it before taking it off the car, because it'll be mounted. Oh, I wonder if I have to. No, I don't think the new one has the rod coming out of the back of it, so I should be able to just take the two brake lines off, take the two mounting nuts off the flange, pull it off, and the push rod that's on the brake pedal should still be there. I shouldn't have to get under the dash. That would really suck if I have to. This car is kind of small, and I'm not small, so whatever. Figure it out when I get there, but that needs to come off either way because I want to replace it. Probably pull the spark plugs out just because I might as well. They're right up here on the front. Right up front, real easy. I did not order any tune-up stuff as far as wires, cap, rotor, any of that, because I wanted to get it running and driving and stopping before doing a bunch of that, because this is a timing belt engine. So funny thing is it's an externally driven water pump. It's actually right down here underneath the alternator. You see that? Barely see that pulley in the shadow down there. It's actually mounted. It's like bolted to the front of the engine block down there. It's kind of odd. So it's literally a belt and a tensioner pulley. That's all that the timing belt does, other than the cam. So this is a single cam, overhead cam engine. That's not really attached. I guess, let's just pull that off real quick. It's only got one bolt holding the whole cover on it. It's got like a tab. I have no idea what the belt looks like. I haven't checked it yet. But I obviously don't want to run it a whole lot with this old belt, unless I look at it here in a minute, and it actually seems to be okay-ish. Oh wow, that's really narrow. I'll get my light on it here so you can see it better. This belt, I don't know if it's supposed to be that. Oh, I guess it is, because it doesn't show any wear on the cam gear like it has supposed to have a wider belt. This thing's really weird. It's little. Everything about this car is little. So I don't see any cracking. There is obviously like a groove. I bet that's, oh yeah, I don't know if you can, let me see if I can get the light set up here. There's actually like a groove on the pulley. Yeah, see that right there. So that's what that line is from. It just hasn't worn that, but it's kind of odd that it's got a visible like ridge on it. Like I can feel it. So maybe that tensioner pulley, the bearings are starting to go out in it and it's dragging. As you can see, it'll focus. I don't know if it'll focus. There's some rust pitting and stuff on that pulley, but anyways, very important, because if that breaks, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming most overhead cam engines, most engines, small engines in general, are interference. So if you break your timing belt and the cam goes out of time and has your intake and exhaust valves open at the wrong time and the pistons are still spinning around in there, they're just going to smack those valves and bend them, put holes in the pistons, whatever. Basically, it'll blow it up or ruin it. You're going to have to spend a bunch of money and time tearing it apart, replacing a bunch of stuff inside. I think this is the same engine they put in a lot of Volkswagen Golfs and maybe not GTIs. I think the GTI was supposed to be like the sport version of a Golf. Not super knowledgeable on Volkswagens, but this might be a really common engine, so it might be actually really easy for me to get like internal rebuild parts if I wanted to rebuild it. But I don't want to blow it up because that's just, you know, it's a lot more work. That's what happened to this engine, except it doesn't have a timing belt. This is out of a 2011 Charger that I picked up cheap. It's a really nice car because it didn't run because this engine's boat anchored. Because these new engines that have the timing chain with the overhead, this is a dual cam overhead V6, overhead double cam. The timing chains run off of oil pressure. So if you don't keep up your oil changes and you run your car really low on oil and then you're driving it around with like no oil, it will slack the chain off, which is doing the same thing as this belt. So it'll get sloppy and then it'll jump the teeth and then it'll smack the valves and then the engine doesn't run right. And then you've got a boat anchor. And I believe I can probably rebuild that engine, which is why it's still sitting inside my shop instead of out in the scrap pile. But I mean, you can see there's a lot of junk in here. Well, it's not junk. Some of it's junk, maybe. I don't know. It's junk. It's a personal opinion whether it's junk or not. I have a lot of projects and a lot of stuff laying around, but back to the engine hitting valves thing. Only one cylinder head on that engine has got valve issues, so I ended up getting a whole engine really cheap and just swapped the whole thing out. So it's spare parts. Maybe I'll rebuild it if I need it in the future if the other engine has an issue that I put in the car, because it's not one that I fixed up to, you know, move on. I usually buy stuff and fix it for myself, for my own personal reasons, and I keep it because that's why it's worth getting the good deals on these on cars that are broken, is to fix it up for yourself. It's really hard to make money on things because nobody wants to pay for anything. But so before I get to driving this car really, or doing a whole lot of running it, at least I can see this here. There's no cracks on the backside. I was looking at the teeth. They looked okay. It doesn't look like it's terribly dried out. I have no idea when it was put on, how many miles are on it. I'm sure it's been on here for at least 10 or 15 years. So just out of caution, it's like, I think I looked it up and I think it was less than 20 bucks for the pulley and the belt for this car. This car, everything's super cheap for this car for some reason, even though it's like you can't find a bunch of stuff like doors, interior panels, any of that stuff. You can't find any of that, but you can get ball joints and tie rods and engine parts and all the suspension parts, any of the like mechanical stuff. It's like super cheap. I don't know if it's because they're discontinuing making this stuff and they're just selling this stuff cheap, like wholesaling it off just to get rid of it out of the warehouses, or if it's just because it was built with a lot of common parts that are shared with a lot of vehicles for a long generation of time. So they're just cheap because like the hub seals, they're like 10 cents a piece online. I got, the new wheel, the seal for the wheel bearings, 10 cents each. Totally, it's just crazy. It's like a couple bucks for the wheel cylinders. I think it was like $12 or $13 for a brake master cylinder. So I mean, I'm buying I had this like big order of parts I got coming from Rock Auto, and I bought stuff for my box van because the transmission needs rebuilt, and like the whole order was like $350 something with like $60 of it being shipping, and I think it was like $112, and like another $40 of that was just for transmission parts of the van. And then I've got parts coming for a Buick that I'm working on for a coworker, and I think there's like $60 of parts there. So the rest of it was Omni parts, and I have this huge list of parts coming for this thing, and it was like less than $100 to get the brakes, to go through the brakes, and to rebuild the fuel system, like fuel pump, got fuel filters, got carb kit, just mostly a lot of it's the brakes, and then the wheel bearings. I had to get one of the brakes was stuck on this, and so I got the rear drum off, and I realized I took the hub off instead of taking just the drum, because this still has the original. I think it's got I think all the rear brakes are original, because the shoes are pretty much worn away, but this left rear was hung up. It wouldn't let go, and so I was gonna take the drum off and get the brakes unstuck so the wheel would roll, because I was pushing this thing around, getting it on the lift and whatnot, and it was like not letting me move the car. But I took the off of the hub. I took the spindle off of it, and the grease is like tar. It is so sticky and dried up. I was like, well, I need to re-grease the wheel bearings then. I got to get them apart, clean them, re-grease them. So I didn't want to deal with trying to beat the drum off of the wheel studs, because from the factory, they actually they put the hub into the brake drum and then pressed the wheel studs into it to hold the drum to the hub, and then put them on that way in the assembly line. So it's like really hard to get them off without damaging the brake drum or like a wheel stud, and I didn't want to replace them because they're in good shape. So I just took them off that way, or at least I determined the drums are still good enough to use and not change them once I took it off by the spindle. So it was just easier than beating on it and ruining it. Although they are really cheap. This car has, it says, what does it say? 59,706. That is not well, it's actual mileage, but there needs to be a 1 in front of it. It is at least 159,000. There's no way this only has 59,000 miles on it, because the post, like I said, my sister tagged me in a post on this car on Facebook. That's how I found it and was able to get in touch with the guy who had it and was able to purchase it. But the girl who had this car in high school, one of her friends, or her, I can't remember, one of them had posted in there, and then there's this whole string of comments on the for sale post for this car where they were reminiscing, talking about high school and how it I don't know, I guess they blew the head gasket in it she blew the head gasket in it one day, and I think her aunt or something, I'm guessing it was an aunt, commented, like, oh, that mileage that they have posted on there is wrong, because when you got the car, it had 79,000 original miles on it. And as far as I know, this car stayed with the same family since it was new, until the guy I got it from, who saved it from getting crushed and just kind of stored it for a long time and decided he wasn't going to do anything with it. But I think it changed hands. I don't know for sure. I mean, I could probably, since I know the names of the people, I could probably reach out and get the full story of this car. All I know is I found paperwork in the glove box. I have it at home, or I'd just pull it out and show you. But, well, then again, I don't necessarily want to give away people's names either. But it had the original warranty card and the original temporary registration card from 1979 when the car was new, and it was sold here in Lebanon, Oregon, to some people who lived in Albany. And I believe it was probably a situation, judging by the birth dates that were on this registration card with the names, from, because DMV, I guess they used to put your birthday on there with your name. I don't know. I was born in 1990, so this car was already 20 years old by the time I was born. Or, well, not 20. It was, 79, 89, that's 10. So it was like 12 years old. This was a 12-year-old car by the time I existed. But, the birth date was like something in the 20s, and then the other name was in the 50s, like born in the 50s. So I think it was one of those situations of like maybe buying their it was a girl's name. So I'm guessing it was like dad co-signed or bought it for or with like the daughter kind of situation. And I believe this was somebody's first brand new car, and it stayed with that family, I believe, for many years. I don't know if it was the girl I went to high school. I don't know if it was her aunt that got the car new, or if it was like a grandmother and it had gone to an aunt and then it came to the girl I went to high school with. Don't know for sure. Like I said, I have the people's names on Facebook. I could easily probably find out if they wanted to talk to me. Obviously, I don't know. People, some people just don't like to share. Again, that's why I'm just going to respect their privacy. I'm not going to go harass them. I think they would probably tell me about it, but it kind of doesn't matter. I mean, I know enough to know that this car, it started life here in the valley, in the Willamette Valley, and it has never left. Because the guy I got it from out of Springfield, he had picked it up out of a property up in Sweet Home, and I know that there's addresses attached to this car that were Albany area and like Lebanon. It came from Lebanon. The last registered address is Sweet Home, and it's had these license plates on it since it was brand new. It's never had any other license plate, because that's the license plate that's on the original registration card from 1979 that I still have. Somehow that and the original Chrysler warranty book survived in the glove box of this car. I don't know how it made it. That's just crazy when these little tiny pieces of paper somehow never get thrown away in all the mix of other registration cards and whatnot. I'm guessing somebody decided to just keep saving them as mementos because it was such an original car, because there's no other registration slips in this car from any other time in its life, just the original. So kind of crazy, kind of cool little pieces to have. As you can see, the grill and stuff is off. I was leaning over it and it kept making cracking noises because it's all cracked along here, these little supports. It's very loose. So I need to clean that and glue it a whole bunch because I don't want it to break, and I will probably not find another one of these grills for a very long time, and if I do, it's going to probably be really expensive. Excuse me. Like I said, probably have to find somebody who collects Omnis to get another grill, or I'll have to buy another car for several $100s. I don't necessarily want to buy another Omni. I don't want to collect a bunch of Omnis, because this is the only one I want. I just want to clean it up and preserve what's here. So I am on the hunt, like I said, for the bezel and corner light to get matching ones on here. Whether I find another newer style, which I'd prefer not, but I need to find one or the other so they match, because it looks kind of goofy having the one style with the corner light that kind of pops out a little bit, and then this side's smooth, which I like the smooth look myself, and that is original for 79. The one that pops out is for the later model cars, because the tail lights also kind of have that three-dimensional pop out kind of design to them, like this, where they aren't flush. It's got this ridge where it sticks out. So these tail lights don't do that. So old first generation or early generation Omnis have the smoother, more flow. I guess you could say it's more flowing because it doesn't protrude off the car at all. But yeah, so carburetor's off. Probably going to get this master cylinder off here next, or the fuel pump. Stuff's pretty easy to get to, but I've got these parts coming, so might as well get them off so it's ready to go. That way when I get the new parts, I can just start reassembling. Obviously the carburetor, I have to disassemble it, clean it, carefully not lose any of the little pieces that are in there. Get it all put back together with new stuff, and then it'll be good to go. I gotta figure this out down here. Oh yeah, that is definitely not. I don't know, this thing I know is wobbling around, and I just noticed it is definitely not. I don't know if you can see that. It's supposed to be on that lip there, and then this piece is supposed to be into the the choke body here. This is the choke, the electric choke, which once the car is warmed up a little bit, as it warms up more, it slowly opens until it gets to that, to let airflow all the way through there freely, instead of blocking the airflow and making it pull more gas to keep it running when it's cold, because that's a carburetor. So you know, it's a 1979. Some of these cars, I guess these cars, as they got newer into the 80s. I don't know what year it started, but they went fuel injected, especially when they went over the Chrysler engine. But this one's got an electronic, I don't really know what it does. It supposedly electronically controls the fuel system somehow, even though it's a carburetor. I mean, I think about the only thing it does is it can push it can push on this with this thing here, which doesn't seem like seems like, I guess, electric, you know, you put power to it, maybe this will come out more, but it can electronically raise the idle at least a little bit. It can kind of control the idle speed. That's what that computer can do. And it also has these couple other, or it's got another plug, because one plug goes to this guy, and then there's this, which is for yeah, so this wiring goes through, and it has to connect through as a circuit. It's like this is hooked through this, through all the wiring. This is a valve that goes to the charcoal canister, which is this thing down here. It looks like a weird coffee can with a bunch of hoses going in it. This is to control your gasoline vapors so they don't just go out in the atmosphere. It's early emission stuff. It works. It actually helps the car start when it's cold, because it'll use vapor from here to help with combustion, so it'll spark easier, because it's kind of like making like gas, because gasoline in a liquid form doesn't actually burn. It has to suck it down, and it kind of you know, into a mist, and that's what actually burns. It's not just the straight liquid. It has to be like a spray, like what you would get out of a, you know, like a can of starting fluid. When you spray starting fluid, it sprays out like a big fan of mist, and that's what actually sparks off, is all that mist that goes down, and it sucks, the engine sucks it in, and then it'll light that off. It's a lot more flammable than gasoline is in a spray style, but that's how carburetors work. Is, you know, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I'm sure that you can find people that are better explaining it. But this thing right here in the middle, that's actually where the fuel, it sucks fuel through there. And then there's also some little holes in the sides on each side of this barrel. That's why it's a 2-barrel. There's 2 of them. There's little holes. There's some little holes, and then just the engine running, the piston's going up and down. When the piston goes down, the intake valve's open, it sucks air in, and when it's sucking the air in and it's pulling it, it comes through the carburetor and then through the intake manifold, through the intake valve, and into the cylinder. When it does that action and it sucks the air through the carburetor, it pulls the vapor and a little bit of that fuel, like in a mist kind of form, it pulls it into the engine, and that's what it runs off of. And then when you give it gas, that's when the butterflies right here on the bottom, they open, and this is what's called a progressive carburetor. So you're really, like, till you hit half throttle, you're only running on 1 barrel, and then when you get to half, it cracks the secondary open, but once you start to open this like that, you know, you floor it, it'll be like that. That's when that pulls a lot of air through here, and it pulls a whole bunch of fuel through this thing in the middle. And then like the pump squirter over here, which is not squirting because it's just puking gas outside. It comes out of this little pipe. There's a little pipe right there, and it squirts out of that when you step on the gas. So when you step on the gas from a stoplight, it gives it a shot of gas in there so it doesn't stall out and die. So when that's not working, you know, the car doesn't run very good. So it just stalls and dies all the time. But anyways, a little carburetor lesson, I guess. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I know enough to keep my vehicles running and make all this stuff live. So good enough that I don't have problems. Okay, I think I might be calling it quits. I don't know. My got other things to go home and do, but try not to spend too many hours working on stuff. Just, you know, get frustrated or overlook things. I already lost a washer for the throttle linkage. There's a little washer that's supposed to go on right here to protect that pin from getting knocked off. So knocked that down somewhere. I don't know where it went because of this little tab right here that I didn't realize was there, because all the other Chrysler throttle linkages, they don't have that on there. So anyways, that tripped me up. It went down somewhere. I didn't hear it hit the ground. I tried to look for it on the ground, didn't see it. Well, then I took the air, shop air, and I blew a bunch of this stuff off of here. And I don't know where it was at. I probably blew it on the ground if it wasn't already on the ground. And then I took the vacuum and vacuumed up all the nut shells and dirt and everything that blew off everywhere, because it was it made a pretty big mess. But anyways, so I got spark plugs out, got the fuel pump off down there, cap rotor and wires, threw those on the bench. I did unbolt the master cylinder, but yeah, the brake pedal's attached to it, which I didn't think it was, but oh well, whatever. So here's the little fuel pump. Just funny because it's like a Chrysler style, and but it's got this little spacer thing on it, which is very, very Volkswagen. The old air-cooled, you know, bug motors, they have a spacer thing like that on their fuel pumps. And then, you know, for the people that don't understand or don't want to do the research or think I'm just making up stuff, there's the Volkswagen emblem with the Audi, with Germany, and then down here on the block, there it is. There's the Volkswagen, the Audi, Germany. So, yes, this is a Volkswagen engine. I don't know. Some people would maybe argue that, some wouldn't. Sorry, had to wipe my hands off. They were gunky from touching that. What did I touch? I grabbed something. I don't know. Anyways, I didn't want to get it all over my phone. I pulled these spark plugs out. These are actually NGKR. Let's see here. NGKR V-Power. So these are supposed to have like a V. If I can get this to focus. Come on. There, it kind of focused. Yeah, very rounded off. And that little piece in the middle there, this ceramic, it's supposed to be probably twice as long. And there should be like a V-shaped notch in it. These plugs have been in here for a while. I mean, you can see how much dirt is stuck on this one. But they're all come on. There we go. They're all very rounded off to the point where I can't even see a lot of times I've gotten these V-Powers out, and they've been you know, there's still enough of a line there that you can see where the notch used to be. It's not gonna focus. It can take forever to focus. Anyways, they're very, very worn out. This one's got black soot on it, which is a sign of it potentially leaking around the crimp. Maybe it could just be dirt. I don't know. Doesn't matter. They're shot, so I'll put different ones in it. You know, a lot of people, oh, it's a Volkswagen engine, you gotta put Bosch spark plugs in there, or put NGKs back in it, or whatever. I have a whole bunch of Autolite spark plugs that I got given to me. If I have the right ones that cross over from whatever these are, I'll just look at it. I have a book for them. I'll make sure I put the ones in it that's supposed to have in it, and we'll just use those. And if they don't work very good, then I'll, you know, order some NGKs or something for it. But this thing being old carbureted, it probably won't care, and they'll probably be fine, and I probably won't have to worry about it forever. And I didn't spend whatever it is, a couple dollars a plug online, and then wait a week to get them, because I already have them. I have a whole bunch of them. So I've been trying to use them up on things when I can, but I don't have all of them. I just have some. So I'll have to get my head up under the dash somehow and see about getting that brake pedal rod off of this. And hopefully the master cylinder I have coming, hopefully it has a rod attached to it. Probably doesn't, because I kind of have a feeling that the ones that are available were for power brake cars, and I didn't think about that when I ordered it the other day, and it didn't say anything about power brake, non-power brake on the part description or the fitment. So yeah, hopefully I can get the rod. It'll come off the back of this master cylinder, or it comes with the rod on it. I don't know. That's like I said, this car can. It's like parts are cheap, but it's also like a headache, because it's just a weird car. So I'll get it figured out. I'm sure I can make something work out of it. So, but let's see. I got all this blown off down here. Let's go ahead and look at the training fluid. Oh, it actually looks pretty. Well, it looks more red on the camera. Definitely, probably wouldn't hurt to change it. But it definitely, I don't think it's bad. Let me smell it here. Use Dextron. Hot idling in park. I don't think I have to worry about the transmission. Oh, that's really... The handle's really dirty. I think the transmission will be okay. Like, I feel like this car was actually somewhat loved, or very well liked, and that was therefore in turn it ended up being fairly well taken care of. So far I'm not finding anything that's like, oh, that's scary, but I haven't necessarily figured out why it's been parked. Maybe it wasn't running good. Maybe this cap blew off of it. Maybe it was starting to have some carburetor problems and it backfired or something. Pop that cap off. I did notice this other vacuum cap that's on here, right here. It's very hard, so could have just split and fell off too. And the brake springs are broke in the brake back there, which is why it was hanging up. I don't know if I finished explaining that when I took the brakes off for not working, but the springs were broke, and the brake shoes were stuck. The brake master, or the wheel cylinder, had pushed all the way out and jammed the shoe up into the drum. Now I'm just now noticing, you can see all the fluid running down the firewall. This master cylinder is definitely bad out the back side. So now that I've got that unclamped from the wall, the rubber boot on the back of it is letting the fluid come out that was still sitting in there. So anyways, I'll have to get under there and figure that out. But I think I'm going to call it quits for now. I'm going to go home and figure out some dinner and stuff, because my shop is not at my house. So I'm glad to have a shop, and I'm fortunate to have the room and have had the ability to acquire all these tools and stuff. So So, you know, make do with that. Hopefully someday I'll have, like I said, really hoping to get a big shop on a bigger piece of property, because my piece of property, it's big enough I could put a decent shop there, but then I wouldn't have any yard left. So I'd like to have some yard space so I can run ATVs around and all that stuff. So, but for now, we're going to keep working on this Omni. Later, I got some other stuff that I can work on. Like I said, I got about a week before the parts get here. A little less than a week, a little less than about 5-6 days maybe, start seeing parts show up. So gives me plenty of time to continue disassembling. I get that brake master cylinder off, and then I need to break down the brakes. Then I get the front wheels off, and I got new rotors coming, so I'm going to pitch these old ones that are thin and really crusty. Going to get the calipers off on the bench so I can crack those apart, get them cleaned up, rebuild them, put new seals in them. And then the rear brakes, I'm going to, you know, pitch the shoes. I got new shoes coming. I'll keep the hardware that's not broken, but I'm going to throw all that aside in a little bag, and then pop the wheel cylinders off and throw those in the trash, because I got new ones coming, and I need the brake hoses. I got to take the brake hoses off. There's actually 2 hoses in the back. Even though it's a solid beam axle, it has a hose, one hose for each side. It's kind of silly, but oh well, whatever. It's the way they did it. So it actually has it on here in the proportioning block down here on the frame. There's 2 lines that come off of it and go to the back of the car. So there's 2 brake lines that start here and go all the way down into the middle at the back. So kind of funny, but whatever. It works. And we're just going to change those hoses because they're original. I can tell they're original because of the way they look. I will get video of that. I had video of that. I deleted it. But I'll have video of that explaining why I know they're original later. I'll take some videos as I'm tearing that stuff apart. This will probably be broke up in a couple videos, because I think I've got quite a bit of video time now just for doing all this stuff, and don't want to make super long video. Probably break it up in a couple segments, but we'll just kind of like cut this off today right now, and then I'll make a video for the next day. And unfortunately I don't have the video anymore of it running before I got it off the trailer, you know, kind of running. For the first time starting it, I had videoed the first startup, and I deleted it. So we'll get a video of the first startup after the carb's rebuilt and everything's all put back together, and it'll actually start and run then. And then maybe we'll run it around the block and see how terrible it drives. I don't know if it will drive terrible or not, but we're gonna find out. Either way, it'll still be cool to have it back on the road. And if I decide it's a terrible car to drive, I'll probably just take it to car shows and enjoy it that way for a while, and then maybe I'll try to move it on to a collector, or ideally, I think it'd be really cool if I got this thing really cleaned up good enough that it could go into some sort of automotive museum for other people to see it, because you just don't see them, and it's got the cool stripes on it and stuff. So, but until that day comes, I'm going to fix the thing up, and I'm going to drive it around, and I'll probably like driving it because I just like this old stuff anyways. So anyways, we're going to call it quits for today, and I'll video some more later when I get to tearing the old brakes apart, and I'll have another video for that time. But until then, that's going to do it for now.